Hello, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages on Metro Television. My name is Aldo. It's a pleasure coming your way. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here on Inside Pages. What we do essentially is that we look into the pages and come up with what we believe is the most topical story for the week. And I'm talking about the pages of the newspapers and then come up with what we believe is the most topical issue for the week. We invite the right guest and then we ask them the relevant questions. And that's not going to be different from what we intend to do today. Now, last weekend, we woke up to a very, very deeply troubling and distressing news about a 12-year-old who was being married off to a 63-year-old traditional priest within the Nungwa enclave, who was called a Bobu Wulomo. And so Ghanaians got a section of Ghanaians got upset, very concerned, and were very worried about the news. And so it sparked some kind of a media outrage, and that sort of compelled the authorities, the office of the Bobu Wulomo, to sort of explain. And it turns out that apparently it wasn't a marriage, so to speak, and that it was just a traditional right, customary rights. That's according to the explanation that they gave. And also turns out that the girl in question was actually not 12-year-old. She was actually 15, and that she will turn 16 in July. Nevertheless, there have been some legal brains who have called for the Bobu Wulomo to be arrested. Some have said the marriage should be dissolved. In fact, some people are not sold on the argument or the explanation that's been given by the office of the Bobu Wulomo. But for us, there's a bigger conversation we need to have, which it has to do with, it appears that there are aspects of our traditions and our culture, and for that matter, our customs that do not, comfortably align or conform to our statutes. And that's the conversation we need to have. And how do we marry, or how do we harmonize the two in ways that does not create a kind of hullabaloo that we witnessed in the course of this week? It was actually the most topical matter. And so we invited as many people as possible who we believe are more than able, or more than competent to comment on this matter. And when I come back from the break, I will be introducing my resource persons and also the WhatsApp line for those of you who have any thoughts that you intend to express on that news that broke over the weekend. We all saw it on social media, and that's where it started. I'll be right back.
63-year-old Bobu Wulomo, Numo Bokete Lawe the 34th, has faced severe backlash after a video of him participating in a marriage ceremony with a 12-year-old girl, Na Ukrumo, surfaced online. The alleged marriage ceremony occurred on Saturday, March 30, 2024 at Nungwa and has sparked public outrage. Many advocacy groups have issued a statement condemning the act. One of the groups, Girls Not Bride Ghana, wants the police to arrest the 63-year-old Bobu Wulomo of Nungwa.
So basically, they should do the needful, arrest the man, invoke the the marriage, and allow the girl to continue her education. The fact that it's a tradition, and the fact that the girl in question, is now going through trauma because her name is out there. She doesn't have any friend. She don't talk to anybody. This is so humane that we don't expect police to just provide protection.
Child Rights International is not an exception. The human rights organization is calling for a swift action against the traditional authorities.
Our laws are clear as to what we need to do when it comes to issues of this nature. The first one is that the law is so clear that in any form of marriage that will be performed, it cannot be done on someone who is below the age of 18 years.
Meanwhile, the Gandangwe Council, in response to the public outcry, has issued a statement indicating that the relationship between the traditional Ga priest and a 12-year-old girl is simply a betrothal and not marriage. Legal practitioner Martin Pebu, however, says although betrothal is part of the culture, doing so without the consent of the child is against the law.
Section 14 of the Children's Act says that no person shall force a child to be betrothed. Okay? So the betrothal is a form of an agreement that a child is given out for future marriage. So there's an arrangement today that this child who is young, when I say this child, that's below 18, under the Children's Act, the age for marriage, whether you say customary marriage, engagement, or traditional marriage, or church wedding, is 18. There's no discrimination.
Member of Parliament for Medina, Francis Xavier Susu, has described child marriage in Ghana as a worrying trend, adding that the 63-year-old Gbagbu Wulomo and parents of 12-year-old Na Okromo must be prosecuted.
So there is a duty on the Republic not to subject children to physical and moral hazards. How can you give 12-year-old, girl child to marriage? How? How? It's unthinkable.
The Ghana Police Service has confirmed that the 12-year-old girl Na Okromo, who is married to the 63-year-old Ga priest, has been identified and placed under police protection.
Okay, so I think with relation to what the 12-year-old child is very bad. Why? And I think, like we said, charity starts or begins from the house. What are the core things that are being taught in the house? I know people are really looking for money and all that and blaming it on government, but I believe that things should really start the education should start from there. In as much as you have gone to school or you've not gone to school, there's information all around. So we plead with the parents that they should make sure that education starts from there. As little as they are, any little time they get with their kids, they should educate them on what is good and what is bad. Why should you be supporter? What does a 12-year-old child know? They know nothing. They know nothing. So I don't know. They are born scientifically. It's not even good psychologically. And here in Ghana, we don't talk about such things. Having psychology on us as we grow, because as Africans you have to be strong and tough. It is it breaks us, and this is why most of the African child or African youth or Africans are set back, because psychologically, mentally we've been broken, and to come out of such things, it takes a lot. So that's my take on it.
Teenage, onim bibia about marriage. Our papa pay more. In fact, I didn't hear me.
It's not right because she's a child and knows nothing about marriage. I was really pained after the news reached me. This must not be tolerated in Ghana.
I can't be you when our papa paying so be you on ferry. Oh, in fact, I am quite a simple any quasi yes, so our Ghana.
Statement from the police that the young lady who is our queen is under police protection. Therefore, if the police have remarked that she is under police protection, where again do you want to find her? But we are telling the world that she is our lawyer, and if the police are saying they are taking care of her, then the police must be reminded that whatever happens to her, then traditionally we will deal with the police.
There are some information that we are beginning to understand.
Like what? What information are you beginning to understand?
For instance, it was out there that there was a 12-year-old girl getting married, but we have now understood and we know for the records we have that the lady is almost 16. Is 15.
How?
Well, that's
Minister, just a second. I mean, it's not to contest what you're saying, but that 12-year-old was not the media's giving. That's what they stated, and then they came out and said it was 13. It's from them. So, what documents have you seen to confirm that?
Well, that's what we are. That's what we are looking for. We are also looking for birth certificates, school she attended, so we can coordinate the data collected. But until we met her this morning, we were told it's a 12-year-old girl.
Right.
And then today, when my minister for gender met the lady, she was emphatic that she's 15.
Okay.
And so we have now gone to the next step. What's the school? So we're asking those questions. Okay. All I'm saying is that it's an unfolding story. Okay. So the sensationalism must calm down a bit for us to get the facts. And the facts are that.
Sensationalism from who? From the palace?
No, from both sides. From the palace are eager to get their traditional rights carry on. We said, no, we can't do it until we protect the child. And I mean, even if is in 15 or 16, she's still a minor.
Right.
She's still a minor. She's still under 18. So for me, that is my number one priority.
Okay.
Is to make sure that her well-being is protected. She's in a secure environment, which we have done that.
Okay. Where is she at the moment?
Unfortunately, I can't disclose the location to you, which I know.
But she's safe. She's away from
She's safe. She's awake. She's eating. She's okay. We've checked up with her. The social welfare department are with her. But you see, that's a short-term solution. We cannot keep her in an isolated place forever.
Absolutely.
So we need to find a way to get her integrated back to the society. Okay. But not a society where we are not sure where she's going. Okay. So that's why I'm talking to the transition authorities to also understand and coordinating. So far, we are trying to get the Belfast tradition and statute clash. In modern democracy, statute rules. So the tradition must evolve. If it's a tradition that is taking us backwards, we've got to change it.
Okay.
And since I became a minister, we are looking at even the Chieftaincy Act and some amendments. There gone are the past days when a chief dies and they say, oh, let's cut some hairs to accompany the chief to the other world. I mean, these days you can't anybody say it's murder, we arrest you.
Right.
So that is outmoded. So this one may well be one of them. Even if it's she's married to a deity, which I'm told that's what the other line I heard, that she's married not to a person but to the deity. And the deity is headed by the Ulomo. So people have concluded that it's the Ulomo who has married her. But you see, that is the version I've heard. But my other colleagues are picking up different versions. So we have agreed to meet again tomorrow, and then we will be able to unravel what we've all heard and find the fine line. What's the truth in this matter? Okay.
Have you met the traditional leaders? And I'm asking this because there was a press conference where Reverend Ankara threatened police and anyone who dared to come there. So I want to know if you've engaged them on what happened when you met them and when this happened.
I met them and Ankara was there.
Okay. Was it before or after those?
It was threats? After those. I've just seen the video of the press conference by them, and the Ulomo himself was not part of it. Okay. But the Ankara spoke, and I've met them. Ankara was there, and it was a sober meeting. I didn't know this video; otherwise, I would have played it for them to answer me.
Right.
But from my discussion, they understand that the state is supreme. It's a national responsibility on government to ensure that the protection of the child is our priority, and also to ensure that their tradition is reformed to modern standards. Okay. But we have to understand where they're coming from, and I'm told that this is not the first time. It's not the first. They have a name for that deity.
Okay.
So it's happened before. So we're asking that the investigation, as the police put out, would have to go on, and then we arrive at some conclusion somehow. Hopefully not too long. But the child must find we must find a solution for this 16 or 12-year-old, or until we get a birth certificate. We are still doubling between 12 years and 6. But I have got firm information from.
All right, so the footages we just played you is just to set the tone for what promises to be a very interesting conversation. So a while ago, you heard my colleague Bridget Totu interacting with the Chieftaincy Minister, Dr. Stephen Asamoah Boateng, where he was updating the public on what has happened since news broke. Now, the 12-year-old, well, actually not 12-year-old, but the 15-year-old girl in question has actually been taken into police custody. And as you saw in that video, the chief or the traditional authorities were not happy with the attitude of the police and actually warned that if anything happened to the young lady or the girl, they would have to pay a price for it spiritually. And that we need to emphasize spiritually. They would deal with them spiritually. So that's where it is. But there have been several reactions, and there have been tons of a series of reactions from both state and non-state actors, loads of NGOs, EduWatch, EduWatch has released a statement. We've also had statements from the NCCE. We've had statements from different quarters, most of whom were actually expressing concern and condemning what had happened. But we've also had statements from the Gadangbe Council, and also the office of the Bobu Wulomo himself. Now, that statement, in the heat of the moment, was meant to set the record straight and to clarify a few things or a few misconceptions which were actually running wild. Now, one of which I'm going to read the statement, and Derek, if you have the statement, please put it up so that our viewers can also see it. Of course, if you do have it, please put it up or project it on the screen. But if you can't project it on the screen, I'd like to read it for the attention of our cherished viewers, so they have an idea of what the thinking of the Bobo Wulomo and the Nungwa traditional authorities are as far as this is concerned. Now, when I'm done with this, I'll reintroduce my resource persons, one of whom has joined us, a very indefatigable and an affable member of parliament for the Ododo constituency, who is actually a Gadangbe himself, and so understands the concepts and traditions and the values of the people, the norms of the people. And I'll be introducing him shortly. He's been with us here for some time now. But here's the thing. It says Office of the Bobo Wulomo Shiche. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Overlord of the Gadangbe States, Nungwa traditional area. And it says, press release by the Office of the Bobo Wulomo Shiche on the purported marriage rights on Na Akromo Tuesday, 2nd April 2024. It has become necessary that the Office of the Bobo Wulomo Shiche set the record straight on the matters arising concerning the customary and traditional rites that was performed over the weekend for the Na Okromo. And please pardon me, I'm not Gan, but I'll try. Yeah, I'll try to make sure that I'll try as much as possible to get the pronunciation correctly. That Na Okromo to assume the role of Na Yomo Ayimode, right? Na Yomo Ayimode is one of our 4 roles, or is one of 4 roles played by indigents of Nungwa of particular heritage and ancestry from time immemorial. The title Na Yomo Ayimode, which goes with the appellation Wo Dokumyo, says much about how far in time the office goes. The Bobo deity has 4 traditional and religious wives in Nungwa alone, and they are Na Ashele, Na Ohima, Na Bosiafi, and the final one is Na Yomo Aremode, and that's the one which has become a bone of contention as we speak. Now, the Bobo deity has other wives outside Nungwa. Some are accommodate in latte, etc., per traditional customary rights. And it goes on and on and on and on and on to try and set the record straight. But the reason I'm not going to read all of this is because the Honorable Member of Parliament, who's at the Gadangbe himself, will try and put this in context so that you understand what this means, because some of the pronunciations I'll struggle with. But this is where it gets interesting. Now, the Gadangbe Council also issued a statement. Now, when you read the statement of the Gadangbe Council, that is where, for some people, create a bit of a challenge or a bit of a discomfort for the traditional area and the rites which have been performed. Now, I want you to listen and listen good, and please pay attention to this. It says, addressing the issue of Bobo Wulomo's engagement to an underage girl. Now, please pay attention. The recent reportage of the Bobo Wulomo being married to a girl under the legal age of marriage has raised concerns and sparked controversy. The Gadangbe Council viewed the phenomenon as a complex issue that requires careful consideration and action, and for which reason the Council refrained from expressing opinion when the story broke, preferring to do more research and consultations on the matter, considering that the Bobo Wulomo himself is not an illiterate. At first blush, the Council, like all other well-meaning Ghanaians and social commentators, deprecated and denounced the ceremony christened a customary wedding, which is Boy Ikbayo. I hope I got that pronunciation correctly as well. Additionally, it is not difficult to infer that a significant age difference between the two parties may create an imbalance of power leading to potential abuse and exploitation. It is essential to acknowledge the legal and ethical implications of marrying a girl who is underage because, in this country, there are strict laws in place to protect minors from exploitation and abuse. By marrying a girl who is not of legal age, the traditional ruler is potentially violating these laws and putting the girl at risk of harm. Many have cited the Constitution 1992, the Criminal Offences Act and the Children's Act, all dealing with consent to have sex, to be married, defilement of female and void marriages, which are legitimate concerns, with some even calling for the police and other state actors to set in. In addition to legal and ethical concerns, there are also societal implications to consider. The traditional rulers' actions have reflected poorly on the Nungwa traditional area, as well as the Gadangwe community in general, giving detractors the opportunity to denigrate and make us objects of derision. The other concerns being whether, since the ceremony is part of the traditions of Nungwa, it should be respected and isolated or given immunity from state laws. That also the council finds problematic. Now, it goes ahead to say that further probing now this is what it gets interesting. Further probing has, however, revealed such occasions to exaggerate issues in order to create laughter and liven up the occasion, misled everybody present as well as the entire community to believe that what was happening was a traditional wedding. Okay, the council has engaged the Gbabawulomo himself and some of his elders, and it is important to clarify that the traditional ruler has stated that the relationship with the underage, you see, so he's not expressing an opinion. He's telling us that the traditional ruler, this is what the traditional ruler has told. And of course, if the man is lying, then it means the traditional ruler lied. Sorry, I mean, just for the purpose of, it's an academic exercise. I'm not in any way disrespecting, I have a lot of respect for them. But I'm just saying that if the traditional ruler did not tell the Gadangwe council the truth, then it means they're also not telling us the truth. But it goes ahead, it says, the council has engaged the Gbabawulomo himself and some of his elders, and it is important to clarify that the traditional ruler has stated, you see, that the relationship with the underage girl is betrothal, and not a marriage. Now, this distinction to us has altered the legal implication. Now, when I'm done with this, I'll also read to you the Children's Act, and Section 14, and what it says, and whether indeed the whether the Gadangwe Council actually addressed their minds to this express wording of that particular portion of the Children's Act. And that's where it gets interesting. It says, this distinction has altered the legal implication. Now, we are inclined to side with the Gbabawulomo, since the original reportage made the point that there was another ceremony that awaited the girl to purify and prepare her for procreation. For procreation. And the choice of these words and the impression it creates, and that's why I'm emphasizing on these words. We concede that whilst betrothal could involve an underage person, it does not grant license to the person to start having sexual relationship with such a child, thereby jeopardizing her education and even endangering a difficult childbirth since her organs are not properly developed. The Gadangwe Council calls on the Gbabawulomo to address the issue and mitigate the concerns surrounding the betrothal and to ensure that the girl's well-being and rights are protected and that her best interests, such as her education, are prioritized throughout the engagement process. She should continue her education until she reaches the legal age of marriage. And even marriage should not disrupt her education if she's still willing to continue. The Gadangwe Council also calls on the parents of the child to keep an eye on her and let her understand that notwithstanding the betrothal demanded by custom, she's still an infant and entitled to enjoy life and engage in youthful pranks like all others of her age. So, I'm going to repeat that. The Gadangwe Council also calls on the parents of the child to keep an eye on her and let her understand that notwithstanding the betrothal demanded by custom, what does that mean? I don't know. She is still an infant and entitled to enjoy life and engage in useful pranks like all others of her age. We hope that this statement will assuage injured feelings and let this matter pass. Sincerely signed, Honorable Ayikwe, who is the president of the Gadangwe Council. Now, Derek, can you project the Children's Act, Section 14, and what it says? And then we juxtapose that by what the Gadangwe Traditional Council. What is interesting about this, that the man who actually appended the signature to this was a former Attorney General. I mean, the Venerable Ayikwe, his a reputable legal brain. I mean, I don't think there's anybody in this country who would in any way undermine or would call his law or his appreciation of the law into question. And he says, as far as he's concerned, it is betrothal. And he doesn't find anything wrong with it. In fact, he sides with the Bobo Wulomo. That in itself is problematic, isn't it? Now, Derek, let's read what the Children's Act says. If you can project it briefly before I introduce my resource persons. And then we're going to read that and see if we can marry that or reconcile what the Children's Act says as against what is contained or what the Traditional Council has stated. Derek, is it ready? Good. Children's Act, 1998, Act 560, Section 1 defines who a child is. For the purpose of this act, a child is a person below the age of 18 years. Now, Section 14, refusal to refuse betrothal and marriage. 1, no person shall force a child to A, to be betrothed. You see that? To be betrothed. B, to be subject of a dowry transaction, or C, to be married. So, I don't know if I'm supposed to read this again, but listen to this. Section 14, Children's Act, is there, quite clear, black and white. Well, here in this case, it's blue and some other color. But refusal to refuse betrothal and marriage. 1, no person shall force a child to A, to be betrothed, B, to be subject of a dowry transaction, or C, to be married. So, when you contrast and compare the Children's Act, Section 14, which is, of course, Act 560, to what the Gadangwe Council, whose president is the learned attorney, former Attorney General, it then raises questions. It becomes very problematic. And I am very confident that perhaps the Honorable Ayikwe Otu's understanding, of course, maybe in the Ghana language, in translating what betrothal in the Ghana language means, is different from what the law says. That's one possibility. Or the second possibility is that he probably didn't address his mind to it. So that for me are the two possibilities. But we haven't spoken to him. We'll try and raise him on the line to see whether he can help us with some explanation on this matter. And then we can take it from there. However, let me say that I have the Honorable Neil Antivandapoy, who is with us in the studio. I'll be introducing him shortly. But before I do that, let me just say that if you have any questions to so let me quickly do this. It's an extremely important correction that a very important, very, very significant personality has drawn my attention to. Police custody is actually police protection. Yes, it's actually police protection. It's not police custody. I sincerely apologize for that. And I want to thank this man who has sent me this message. It's a very, very significant person in this country. But of course, I don't have this permission to mention his name. It's actually police protection, not police custody. Thank you so much. So police protection by their social welfare unit. That's extremely important. Thank you so very much for drawing my attention to this. So I'm saying that the Venerable Ayikwe Otu's statement, and I'm going to read that portion again, and I don't get it. The council has engaged the Babu Wulomo himself and some of his elders, and it is important to clarify that the traditional ruler has stated that a relationship with an underage girl is a betrothal and not a marriage. Wow. Anyway, so that's what we have. But when you read Babu Wulomo's statement himself, he doesn't talk about a betrothal. He talks about, it says it's a customary marriage. So we'll take it from there. Let me welcome the Honourable Member of Parliament for the Jojo, Neil Latif, for the purpose of this, I'll say Neil Latif Vanderpoy. He said today he's here more as a Gadangbe, a proud Gadangbe member, and not or citizen, and not a member of Parliament per se. He's not a politician today. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you, boss. Right. I'll also be joined by somebody who is... your microphone was actually off. I'll also be joined at some point. Yes, good to see you, boss.
Thank you.
All right. So I'll also be joined by Nana Fredio Ajimain Ufariata, who is also a communications consultant on traditional matters. He will also be joining us shortly. But let me quickly do this. Before I speak to Lawyer Bright Akwete, who would help us navigate our way around the legal nuances of this matter, let me say that there's this video which I'd want you to watch because it would help us put the conversation in its proper context. Now watch this video.
Romance. No more we play romance. No man work no more we play romance. And no more when you are a wonderful instrument for enjoyment. And no more Sunday enjoy no more believe a year kasi. Jano Bagake. What Bonu Basha 1 year down woody. And 1 year Castle Bridge, Tagafia Kusumi. 1 year was Schnapp. 1 year was red label. 1 year was green label. 1 year was brown label. 1 year was yellow label. Michoka siafe siana babote miye. Lebo ye. Nimi chomi ake babie. One fe bemba kusu. Ene wa 1 year wa floto. Ni telemai ye mi opo ni wakaba. Jeno bekake. Aha wale ake a way to a man's heart through his stomach. Kotono wuhia meshia. Tano ho ni ohale. Neye katope. Emabo mweni kaka habo shishini. Yes. I know that one it. Yeah. Can do it all. Emabo mweni. Emabo shishini. I don't need you nakai. Thank you. Ene wa. You want to play my kusu you want. When you want kukwai when you kaje ewulu no. Kabashi. Kekbe. Ni ekanuba womi. Ni obanu. Kukwai ni machine onaka atop play mano. Noni maybe nego chabiane fe ko pete kukwa ko fe ko e bana fe ni aka honi ani etake ni banu no ko fio numbo ye numbo ba nuni agbene wo ye da sote ko me bia yuata wo ya bia ne le wo de gba wo fe be ma yuata ka numbo ba mi se kula Koba honi bomode no potiti light wango no chose go hanumbo baby no poshindo then they can hanumbo then they can hanumbo then they can shami ko shami o hanumbo gbena numbo na chabana ka ni na ho na je ni bibioni macha he kaka ye nyanwani ka yashishi ni fe onye ha wotia da numbo de gba eche enibiana Agbene bekeka ya wo aka your friend you are sako here jimba sano here jimba sano ke spices awo body ene wo here was spray papai wo here wo nibi papai ni baka ko wo see through eta nimi chomi aka oba shio wo ko e pretenie alo numu ba na ke ngako mfaka nja heko kaka no kaka ni the phone on ke no e coming ke agbe no fiana e coming ke wano le na kana ni ene wo fe agbe na to ene wo te abasi na du no wo kutu eno ni wo fi one e ka fe nye hi sha e ga ke maybe no ko chichi olololo kati ato Ramo, Kajagan and the fair Ramo na to Sejo na habwe money lenu. Arabo Sejo ne lenu. Arabo Sejo
All right, so welcome back. You saw the MC for the occasion and how she was appellating, the kinds of things that she was saying. And typically, these are not things that are said at a customary rights event. I mean, these are things that are said typically at proper marriages. If you're not somebody who speaks the Ga language or understands the Ga language, she said quite a bit. She says quite a lot of things. That she has duties she needs to perform. She needs to make sure that she feeds the husband in all the ways, necessary. I don't need to be specific about it, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. They have perfumes, they have panties, they have this for her, they have that for her. And, essentially saying that she drawing her attention to what he expected responsibilities are, or what is expected of her as the wife of the of the deity, or of the stool, or of the chief, depends on how you want to look at it. So these are things that a lot of people feel cannot, by the stretch of any imagination, convince anybody that this wasn't a marriage ceremony and that it's a customary, it's just a simple customary right. So that's why we had to play that video. Let me quickly say that I have somebody who's a communications consultant on traditional and customary rights, or customary and traditional matters. I'm talking about Nana Fredio Ajimai Oforiata, who's joined us. Good morning, sir. Thank you so very much for your time. It's a pleasure having you, sir.
My privilege.
All right. Now, let me also say that, let me quickly do this. I need to speak to the Honorable Bright Akwete, Mr. Bright Akwete, who is a private legal practitioner and a Gandangwe himself. Unfortunately, his line has dropped. We'll try and get him back online for us to help us, with the legal aspect of this matter, or I said the legal nuances of this matter. And so once we get him back on the line, we'll speak to him on this matter. Now, we had initially advertised that we were going to have Nibote Osakono, who's the deputy admin office of the Gbobu-Wulomo Shiche. Unfortunately, he's unable to make it. Now, he sends a message. Okay, let me quickly do this. Ni, good morning. Thank you very much for accepting to talk to us on Inside Pages, sir.
Good morning.
And I hope you're doing very well, sir.
I'm doing well.
All right. Now, before you walk us through what your thoughts are on the legal implications of what has happened, but generally, from where you sit, how do you think we got here? I mean, I'm told this was something that is been done from time to time, several centuries ago, but for the first time, it has become a matter for public discussion. There's a media outrage. There's a public outrage. How, in your view, did we get here?
Well, if there's an infringement of the law, we'll get there. If there's an infringement of the law, because as a young man growing up in Accra, I didn't hear about such a case until now. So I can contribute, but to a limit. That is where somebody is, what's the English word to use, of an age for marriage, and he's given to somebody who can marry him, so who can marry her. That should be something legal. If it's below the marriage age, then questions will arise. And I believe the young girl is below the marriage age. That's why the questions are arising. So we can talk about this only as far as the law is concerned. How did we get here? We got here because something is being done in violation of the law. Whoever you are, you cannot marry an age. You cannot marry a young girl of underage. You cannot. Whoever the girl is betrothed, you cannot marry. This is my point as a beginning.
Mr. Brasak, we're told by the Nungwa traditional, in fact, by the office of the Gbobu-Wulomo, that this is not marriage. This is just it's a symbolic, or call it a perfunctory marriage rights. It really has no legal effect. So we don't have anything to worry about.
If it has no legal effect, the girl should not be affected. The girl should not be affected in any way. She should have a liberty to move on and go and choose a partner, or for a good partner to choose her, and not for any relationship to be courted about fetish, or about any other human being.
So again, back to the statement that I made earlier, that she's not married, and so she's free when she gets to the legally accepted marriage age to decide on who she wants to marry and live a very normal life. It's just what happened. What has happened according to the traditional authorities? It's just simply symbolic. She's not legally married to anybody.
If it's symbolic, so let it remain. Don't let it come out to seem as if the Ulobo is not going to arrest, is not going to have a wife. The wife is this. No. The Ulobo should have a wife. If that wife is above 16, he can marry her, and not below 16.
So he says he's not married to her. She's married to the deity. She's married to the stool. She's supposed to be the fourth wife of the stool. In fact, there's a first one. There's a first wife, a customary wife, who's about 90-something years. There's a second one who's about 80-something years. There's a third one who's, I'm told, is in her 30s or so. I stand to be corrected. She is the youngest. She's a virgin. She's been given to the stool. And in fact, the first three are duly married. They have their husbands. They're living their normal lives, And so, what are we worried about? What's our problem?
Our problem is that the girl is underage, and at the age of marriage. It shouldn't go to anybody. Leave her. Let her have her liberties. Let her choose whoever she wants to marry. Nobody should impose anything on her. Now it is an imposition, and we don't want this imposition. In Ghana, there's no law backing imposition of marriage. Anybody on anybody.
Do I get the impression, Mr. Bright Akwete, that as a Gadangbe, you've never been aware of these customary rights where people are not necessarily legally married to somebody? It's just a symbolic event. You're not aware, and have you always held this position that don't do it because somebody can argue that it is marriage, strictly speaking, so don't do it? Or this one is because the lady, the person is in question is an underage person?
I have not known this type of marriage or any other kind with a deity. Deity? Who is a deity? She wants to marry. She should go and marry within the woman given to her by the deity, or allowed by the deity to be her wife. Deity. She's a deity. I've not known of deities getting married in the Gadagbe area. This is new to me.
I see. So you think that the law must take its course? Is that what you're suggesting?
I think that we're living in a country of human beings. Human beings are governed by law, and the activities are regulated by law. Let us go to the law and deal with the law. The deity is a human being. What is he? Let him show his face and say he's called deity, and then we'll know what to do.
Are you suggesting as a Gadangbe that you don't believe in this whole, you don't believe in stools, that there's a deity, there's a stool, there's a shrine? You don't believe in that?
I am a Gadangbe, but I am a Christian. I don't believe in those things.
I see. I
come from Sakumowe. Sakumowe in the Gadangbe area. Sakumowe. But I have not been tutored about deities getting married to human beings. I have not.
Okay.
And I'm not supporting it. I don't support it.
All right. Thank you so very much, sir. And I would want to thank you so very much for your time. Thank you so very much, Mr. Bratakweti.
It's a pleasure.
All right. Mr. Bratakweti is a private legal practitioner, Gadangwe himself, and we thought it was interesting to speak to him because, first of all, he's a Gadangwe and also a private legal practitioner, and so we thought it would be interesting to pick his thoughts on what he thinks, because there's a view that there's actually a clash between our traditions and our laws, and so I just thought he would be able to help us navigate that, and how some people feel that it's time for us to harmonize it so that we don't we don't face these challenges. I want to say a happy birthday to the phenomenal CEO who inspires us every day. May your birthday be the start of a wonderful year. Siam African Consortium, that's the CEO, and she is actually celebrating her birthday. She's called Mrs. Adelaide Siao Ejapon. Mrs. Adelaide Siao Ejapon, the wife of the Venerable Dr. Siao Ejapon himself of Jospon Group of Companies. That's his wife. She's celebrating her birthday today. Mrs. Adelaide Siao Ejapon, happy birthday to the phenomenal CEO who inspires us every single day. May your birthday be the start of a wonderful year ahead. And so I want to say hip, 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 hooray. So let me come back in-house and read this. Now, I said that I earlier advertised that I was going to be joined by Ne Bote, who works with the office of the Babu Wolomo. But he sends a message and says, following the government's press release on the ongoing misconception regarding the Na Yomo Ayemode's rights, which is the Wadukon, right? Wadukon rights. I don't know that. Okay. It says, the office of the Wawulomo Shichen, in consultation with some Gandangwe traditional office holders, will be releasing a statement on the subject. Due to this, the office has decided to suspend all media interactions and discussions on the matter till the release of the statement. And this has been signed by Reverend Dr. J.C. Ankra, Administrator, also Office of the Babu Wolomo Shichen. So that's why the man is not here. He had agreed. He was more than happy to come and explain and educate the public on what has happened, but he's unable to do that because there's a caveat. There's actually a directive that they should not engage in any public discussions on this matter. So, Honorable, I spoke to you, when was it? I think must have been on Wednesday or so. And you gave a very good explanation as to why this had happened. And as far as you are concerned, there was nothing really untoward. Maybe the event was a little overhyped, and that's why we're where we are. Has that position changed?
Well, thank you very much, Moro, and let me say good morning to you and to my very good brother, my tenant, Nana Ofuriata.
Oh, he's your tenant?
Oh, yeah, on Gunland.
I get that. I get that.
No, with you, my great-grandmother specifically gave you a place to stay.
Yeah.
You understand?
Right.
In Adraka.
Right.
Yes, and that has become your house.
Right. So then you're right.
But Moro there doesn't live here.
Right.
Also, Moro there, he's not. Let me say he's not a legal tenant. You are
that's even worse.
I prefer
yours. If mine is anything to go by, then yours is better. Please go ahead. Yes, I just wanted to know whether
Moro,
what is there anything more you want to say? Has your position changed?
No, my position has not changed.
Okay, Moro, you're fortified in your position.
Yes, Moro, I am a Ghanaian.
Yes,
I'm a Christian.
Yes,
but I also say that I am a Gandangbe, a proud Gandangbe.
Okay,
and I'm one person who always stand for my culture and tradition.
Right.
I will always talk about Ghanaian culture and tradition because I know the role that Ghanaian culture and tradition can play in our development and our progress as a people.
Right.
I'm totally appalled when Western culture is seen as superior to our national cultures.
Right.
And wherever there is an issue pertaining to anything related to our culture and our tradition, I will try and bring out the little knowledge I have because by the grace of Almighty God, I've traveled far and wide, and wherever I've gone, I've tried to learn something about the culture of the people I stay with. So if it's about Ashanti culture, I will. It's about Achim culture, I will.
Yeah.
It's about the Bono culture, I will. It's about the Northern culture, I will talk about the knowledge I have. It's about the Ewe culture, I will. What is happening now in this country is the tendency for people, and sometimes I become a bit frightened when very educated people, knowledgeable people who are supposed to do a contrast between modernity and our culture and tradition sometimes think that because of where we've gotten to as a country and in the world, we should bury those things that make us different, that make us very, let me say, unique as Ghanaians. We should throw them away, dump them in a dustbin. I would never agree with those people. Look, recently when the people of Great Britain, England, were inaugurating King Charles, did you see the stool he sat on?
True.
Did you see what was under the stool?
Rich display of culture.
Thank you. If you go to Scotland today, the Scottish have still maintained the culture that their great-grandfathers had.
Yes.
Today, up to today, one of the most important people in the world, the Dalai Lama, still dress and appear.
Tibetans.
Yes, in his natural Tibetan culture.
That's true.
You understand? Just this week, Senegal adored their new president. Did you see the culture and tradition of their people?
Right.
So any country that loses its culture and tradition loses its identity.
Absolutely.
And strictly, I can say, what is affecting this country today is the erosion of our traditional and cultural values and family systems.
Right.
This has taken a lot from us. When I was growing up, society and our culture and tradition checks almost everybody. The chiefs, the office holders, traditional office holders, opinion leaders, family heads, fathers, mothers, children. The child need not sit in a classroom to know what he is permitted to do and what is not permitted to do. You understand me?
True.
Today, we say we are living in modern times. And so people can even dress anyhow and appear at any ceremony and they think they are okay.
Yeah.
That's why you see guys dressing, dropping their pants.
So basically, we're losing our identity.
Yes. You see women dressing, showing their pants, their beads and everything. People think that they can be nude.
Yeah.
If we were living within our cultural setting and still believing and upholding our culture and tradition, I swear to you, we will not have any discussion on the issue of pornography and the issue of nudity and the rest on our various media platforms.
Right.
It's because we are losing what makes us unique as a people.
Right.
Look, our culture and traditions are systems to check us in order not to get ourselves enslaved by the cultures of other countries and other identities. Today, even our political system is affected by the decisions of politicians and also within our judiciary to relegate the issue of tradition and culture to the background.
Yeah.
To the extent that somebody can go to court and say that if I'm invited by a chief, I have the right to go or not to go because it's an infringement of my fundamental human rights.
Right.
Where did you get that fundamental human rights from for the first place? Because you got it from being a Ghanaian first. And those fundamental human rights are also enshrined and embedded in our culture and tradition.
Right.
Look, I grew up in a community where there was a common law that nobody chews sugarcane.
Okay.
In public.
Yeah.
Do you know why there was that law? That customary law.
Yeah.
Because our elders knew that if all of us should walk around and chew sugarcane and throw it around, we'll be what? Littering the community.
True.
They know that if sugarcane, you drop a sugarcane peel, what it does is that it attracts flies. You know, so all these things are, you call them like cultural laws or customary laws, but then they were meant to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Why do we have a situation whereby if you go to the Brown Afro region, for example, anywhere the river tunnel passes, you don't go for fishing in those areas. You don't farm in those areas on specific days. Why is it that among the Gans and the coastal areas, you don't go to fishing on Tuesdays? Why is it that in certain areas, there are certain forests or certain groves that people are not allowed under any circumstance to farm or to do anything around there?
Yeah.
You understand? Today, we've allowed so-called modernity or civilization. And we've trampled upon these things. So we are having effect of environmental degradation. We are having effect of depleting of our foliage and fauna. And we don't seem to understand that, look, all these countries that have developed, the Asian tigers, they develop within the context of their cultural and traditional values.
Okay.
Chinese laws are basically traditional and cultural values. Japan, the same. Korea, the same. Even in the United States of America, go to Native America settings, and you know the things that they do, and the way they dress, and the way they communicate. So, it is important that we look at what is happening as another way of so-called intellectuals in this country, so-called civil society, so-called people who think that they are more educated than some of us, to further erode part of our culture. Moro, let me say this. Whatever happened in Nungwa has happened. But I will want to take it from this angle. What happened is not strange. And I am utterly surprised that my senior brother, my very good friend, Mr. Bratakwete, says he had never seen this culture before.
Yes, he says he's never seen something like this.
Maybe he didn't grow up within our community and settings where our culture and tradition are well practiced. Maybe
he talked about where he
grew up in the Jowulus and this thing here. He was never brought to the community. He was never brought to the traditional homes to see what. But me, I grew up with my great-grandmother. I grew up with my grandmother. My great-grandmother being a Northerner, I grew up with her. My grandmother being a Dangbe, I grew up with. And I grew up with my grandmother, who is a Gan.
So this is not new to you?
No. And I've witnessed many. And I say that this thing is not peculiar to girls. It's also done for boys. So why is it that when it's about boys, people don't talk about it?
Yes.
As I'm talking to you, I said, in my community, in my constituency, I have more than 7 boys who are between the ages of 6 and 14 who have been set apart to serve shrines. They go to school, all right? 2 of them I know, very young. Nana, they go to school in their traditional attire. The teachers don't sack them from the classroom. They are permitted to sit in the classroom. They do everything just like any other student. They play with their colleagues. Their colleagues have accepted them. They are in the class. They have the education. Last time talking to you, you mentioned the former AMA PRO.
Yes, Numo
Blafo. He told you about this. He grew up from, he was set apart from the age of 6. And he went through his education up to GIJ and have further education, his master's degree and everything, being a traditional priest. Your service to a shrine or any traditional authority does not prevent you from pursuing whatever personal and private academic laurels or achievements you want to have. That's why all of us raise the issue of the discrimination against those Rastafarian boys who got admission to Achimota School. Do you think that is their religion? That is what they are born to. Why is it that girls can be set apart to be nuns of the Roman Catholic Church from the age of about 6? Boys could be set apart to serve in the Roman Catholic Church from the age of about 4 or 5 up to the time they die, and no one raises a question about it. What's the difference? What's the difference? That if a girl of 6 years, 8 years, 12 years could be set apart to become a nun in the Catholic Church from her infancy till she dies, she will not be allowed to marry. She will not be. If she could have that, why is it different that Na Ayemodele cannot be allowed to serve her shrine, to serve her deity, if she so pleases. Nobody is forcing her. Nobody is putting any pressure on her. I've sent you a video of the girl herself enjoying, happy with what she's been through.
Yeah, maybe she doesn't know what she's doing.
Don't tell me a Ghanaian girl,
15-year-old.
A 15-year-old, and you think
she's
that
not fully aware of what she's.
So we can parade 15-year-olds to go and play for the Ghana national team as footballers, and we think they don't have knowledge, they don't have any sense of their own.
But that's why she's.
We can have you can have a 10-year-old.
That's why she's an underage.
You can have a 10-year-old to compete for the United States of America in gymnastics at the Olympic Games, and you think she cannot think?
But she's an underage. That's why she's a minor.
Please, minor.
She's a minor because assumption is that she's unable to take certain decisions for herself.
Olympic Games is not for minors.
So the parents will take the decisions for them.
Olympic Games is not for minors. Olympic Games are for people who are representing a country.
Yes.
So if you think a minor can represent a state, a country,
why can't they take a decision as to who they want to be with?
Yes.
But you see, here's the thing, Honorable. These traditions. Just a second, sir. I beg you. These traditions are important. I agree with you. Mm-hmm. But don't you think that these traditions must conform to our laws?
Our laws cannot.
Our laws embrace and welcome our customs and traditions, and that's why, for instance, we have.
What does the Constitution says?
No, but in fact, I just showed it on the screen a while ago.
Yes.
But before Derek Adote, please put it back on the screen for me to read it again. But here's the thing. Our laws actually embrace and welcome these traditions. And that's why our laws actually recognize traditional marriage. We have Mohammedan, we have ordinance. So it tells you that our laws don't have a problem with these traditions, traditional and customary rights. The challenge, however, is that it must be done within a certain legal framework.
But what is wrong with what was done?
What the lawyers have a challenge with, and I'm going to read that to you again. Now, Dana, check what the Children's Act says. 1998, Act 50. In fact, this is Section 14. Refusal to refuse betrothal and marriage. And it says, no person shall force a child.
Thank you.
A, to be betrothed.
Was not
B, to be subject of a dowry transaction. Or C, to be married.
Was not forced into marriage.
No, it's assumed. It's assumed because
she's assumed.
Because
so
she's not 18. No. She's not 18.
Oh, please. Listen.
Once you're not 18, the assumption is that
no one
you did this under duress.
Listen. It said no one can force a child to be betrothed.
Yes.
So the qualifying word there
is forced.
Is forced.
Or compelled.
Was she forced? Okay. Was it compelled?
2. And I'm going to do this. I beg you. Just before you go ahead. 2. The minimum age of marriage of whatever kind shall be 18 years. Whatever kind shall be 18 years. Mm-hmm. Section 15. Penalty for contravention.
This marriage.
Yes. No, minimum age of marriage of whatever kind.
Yes.
Now, is betrothal a form of marriage? You're giving somebody to somebody. That's you're betrothing the person to the person. Mm-hmm. Now, when you listen to what the MC said,
are you looking at what the MC said?
Well,
or you are looking at what the ceremony was?
She was part of the event.
No.
And it says penalty for contravention. Any person who contravenes a provision of this subpart commits an offense and is liable on summary of conviction to a fine not exceeding 5 million cedis or to a term of imprisonment exceeding 1 year or
you see, both. I want us to have this in a context.
Yes.
This is a unique event.
Okay.
This is about a unique person. Traditionally, the Bobu Shrine is entitled to these people who are set apart to serve the shrine. Mm-hmm. So, in that context, what is termed within our traditional is that they are married to the shrine, not married to the Bobu Ulomo. They are married to the shrine. There are people.
But it says marriage marriage of any form, whether it's a shrine, whether it's a deity, whether to the stool, marriage of any form could be marriage. But at least the operational word here is marriage.
So what you are telling me, what you are telling me here is that Nana sitting here has a stool.
Yes.
As part of in our custom, I don't know whether it persists within our Chim custom. There are people who are called Senheyo.
Yes.
You understand? They serve the stool.
Yes.
Women.
Yes.
Sometimes it's in the family line. It's also hereditary or it's also by lineage. Your family line could be people whose duty, entire duty in their life is to serve. Some of them prepare food for the chief. Some of them even bath the chief and the queen mothers. Nana Maline. Yeah. It is part of the traditional duties and responsibility of certain families.
Yeah.
For example, so you could go to a clan and you have different families. This particular family, they inherit the stool.
Yeah.
This particular family, there are people who serve the chief. This particular family, there are people who are the treasury holders of the chief.
But how are they socially contracted to do that? It's not through that. It's not an act of marriage. That's where the challenge is.
That is the part you people don't know.
Okay.
That's the part people like you and all those who are making commentary about this who do not know because they have not read into our traditional these things, customs and tradition very well.
Right.
There are people who throughout their life, by account of the family they come from, are specifically meant to perform a certain role within a traditional circle.
Okay.
And they don't. But within that, you are not compelled. So, for example, if my family, we are supposed to be washing the feet of my chief.
Yeah.
It may not be me, Lante. It could be my brother, Lante, Lankai, Lankwe, or any other person. You understand? Just as if we are supposed to inherit the stool, it could be me or my brother, Lante, or it could not be me or somebody else who could be the chief.
Mm.
So if Naaye Modele, for example, her family have the right to inherit the Nungwa queen mother's too, and at age 6, she was selected to be the queen mother of Nungwa, and she's been groomed, and assisting with performing the right for her to assume the role as the queen mother of Nungwa.
Okay.
What offense will have the people of Nungwa committed?
I get it. Let me bring in another video now. I think he's been sitting here for a while. And to be fair to him,
not only that,
and itchy, yes, very, very, very eager and keen to submit on the matter or to express his thoughts on this matter because it's an extremely important issue for all of us. Now, I mean, you are neck deep in traditional matters, and I want to just get your preliminary comments on this. So, what are your thoughts? I mean, generally, even before you get to specifics, do you think that this conversation is probably not even important in the first place?
I think that it's important because it's an opportunity to learn.
Right.
And that's the primary thing. Ghanaians need to change our ways about ourselves. We need to become open-minded. I can go to Ni's house and he'll walk me easily to the Wolomo or the clan leader of his family, knowing that I will do what is right by them. I will not disrespect them because he knows me personally. And why should that mean something? It's because I must have decided in my mind that when I'm in his territory, if I properly pay regard to who they are, then they will also be able to treat me well.
True.
You cannot go to China and speak Chi and start pounding fufu. China is even too far. Go to America or someplace like that. You can't do that.
Right.
In America, Ghanaian parents have been arrested for latching their children on their back and sweeping their homes. And then you know what happens?
Yeah.
Then the Americans now come back, develop a strap and put the child inside it. And that one is legal. Are we thinking? And that's what we're going through now.
Yeah.
We're belittling ourselves. We're too eager to destroy each other. My first reactions to all of this was one, why are we so eager to abuse the Ga people? That's what we're doing. We're disrespecting them. When your first reaction is they're doing the wrong thing, you're disrespecting them.
In fact, they themselves have actually said it.
That's the first problem.
The question they ask is it because this is because we're gas and that this wouldn't have happened elsewhere?
Disrespecting
Yeah,
them.
the man said this. Yeah.
And I'll be very, very honest with you. If we were picking 5 ethnic groups in Ghana who
Very
have
powerful.
tried very hard to sustain who they are, Gaza are in there.
You can't take them out.
They're in there. When he mentioned Numo Blafo.
Yeah, he's been walking barefoot. I mean, all these years.
You cannot take the guns out of it. So what was this eagerness to disrespect them? Because you've come to live in Accra, you've got some of your space, you put up a building. So it gives you a right to disrespect them? Yeah. I don't understand that. The second thing is, why do you want to disrespect the individuals involved? I've heard people going at the old man.
Yeah. In fact, they're calling for his
what
arrest.
Is wrong with people?
Yeah.
This is not a personal matter. He is an institution. He's not an individual. If he were an individual, he'd be going around with his personal name. He has a regnal name. If people don't understand regnal names are names given when you ascend a throne, a stool, a skin. So he's not himself anymore.
Yeah.
He's a representative of the people. So when you go at him, you're insulting the people.
Yeah.
The young girl, the young woman, when you go at her, you're insulting the people. I had a big problem when the police said they're taking custody of her. Huge problem. Huge problem. Then my next issue was, have they spoken to the parents of this young woman or young girl?
They don't have a problem with this. They're more than happy to give their child
when
out.
You've spoken to them,
yes,
then you'll appreciate. I'll tell you something. There's a very high-ranking Christian leader in this country. I had a discussion with him. We were talking in general terms about culture. I've been wanting to hold a forum for culture and religion in Ghana. So I was talking to him about maybe one day we can do that. And he said to me, what if I was born in Saudi Arabia? Would I be who I am today? What if I was born in Saudi Arabia? So you take that same context and go to the Ghana people. If me, Nana Fredia, I was born in Neil Ante's house and grew up there, I would come out more Ghana than Achim.
True.
If you come to Chebi, there are people in Azongo who were born in Chebi, know Chebi history, more than me who's a royal from there. Does that make them small within the context of Achim because they are not Achims? In fact, they'll tell me that they are more Achim than I am. And for all intents and purposes, they are not very wrong. So we need to be very contextual. Nilante made a statement about himself. He said, I am a Ghana and I'm a Christian. This thing, that's where the fight is, between being Christian and being Ghana. Being Ghana. And you know, one of the things I identified in our ways is that we have so not clearly defined what is religion within us, within our culture, that it's not easy for people to differentiate between the two.
True.
Or between religions, so to speak, of being a traditionalist, as we've chosen to call our religion, being Christian or being Muslim or Hindu or whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
People, because we haven't documented our ways, or a friend of mine, Keke Usu, uses the word coded, because we haven't coded our ways in our religious doings, it's not as easy. There's just about no code in the Bible that doesn't find an equal statement or adage in any Ghanaian culture. There's no principle in the Bible, the Christian Bible or the Quran, that does not find its equal statement in any Ghanaian ethnic cultural setting or traditional religious setting.
Right.
But the difference is, I don't go to a book that says, this is Achim religion. And so this verse, that chapter, this, we don't have it. But it is lived. And so for me, when I put all of these things together, I find us very hypocritical. Constitution, laws, we must remember. I call our problems when you refer to all our Western cultural things, I call it 1844. When we ceded our laws to Europeans.
Yeah.
The Ghana chiefs were not part of it. Neither were the Achims. But as a collective Ghana, we've been affected by it.
I mean, that's where our woes began.
Yes. And you know what it means?
Yeah.
I walk into Moro's house. I go into Moro's room and I tell Moro where to sleep. Will you allow that?
No. Hell
But
no.
why did we?
Yeah.
That's what 1844 was. And therefore today, look at us. Somebody's way of life is better than ours. Because we seeded ourselves away. And we have not taken time to look back, figure out who we are, and come back. We don't have to do the exact same old things. But we must not think that what we have and what we had was inferior. It is our being today. Look, people are being, as far as I'm concerned, people are being, they should go 2 generations, 3 generations back into their own history and see whether their grandmothers were 21 before they married. They should go into their histories as recently as 3, 4 generations ago and see how many of their grandmothers, their grand-aunts were 21 before they got married. They should go into that same history. Neil Ante said something very profound about the ignorance or the shutting out of males in all of this. They should go back and see whether their great-grandfather or great-grandmother or grand-uncle didn't get married at 16. They should go and find out.
Where were the laws then?
Which laws? We had laws. And that's my point. It is not illegal in our system what has happened.
I just read the child.
You are reading the English law. I just told you about 1844. I just told you Neil Ante and I have together raised the matter of our being influenced by Western culture.
Yes.
I'm saying those laws that you just read are
law.
based on Western culture.
Yes. But before they came to be.
And by the way, the fact that I'm saying they are based on Western culture doesn't mean I don't accept them.
Yes.
I live by them.
Right.
Because I believe that we need those things. I believe that a 12-year-old child is not mature enough to marry.
Well, in this case, it's 15, actually.
No, I'm not even talking about, you see, and that's the thing. We get so caught up on the individual, we lose the big picture of fixing the system for all of us.
Yes. So a minor.
Tomorrow.
So basically a minor.
God forbid, please knock on wood with me. I could be dead tomorrow. But what legacy do I leave for my children to appreciate that when they go to their Uncle Neil Ante's house, they must respect everything he does. And in turn, he will embrace them. How do we leave that? And so we shouldn't be talking about an individual. That's why I condemned the attack on the knee bowl yes, it was wrong. If we're going to make progress as a people, these discussions should be talked about holistically. So my next and final thing, you asked me about my general view. So, and I expect that you back me on this. Decades ago, they did studies in Jamestown and other such places and came up with the thing about teenage pregnancy and the cultural and customary links to it. What has anybody done about it? Today it's still there. What has anybody done about it? Why are we being hypocritical?
We're nitpicking?
That's what we're doing. We're very emotional. We get caught up. Oh, LGBT, let's sign it. The reality on the ground, we don't deal with. Let me not even veer into this LGBT. Let's stick with this thing. I'm saying, let's stop being hypocritical. The reason you cannot kill the Jamestown thing that I've just raised is because you're not dealing with it from their perspective. When you deal with it from their perspective, you reach them. But if you deal with it from outside coming in, why are you teenagers having children? You will not win. That is why we are not able to deal with that. So as far as I'm concerned, is it a sin in Jamestown? No.
Interesting, because that's a very important. No, that's a very interesting point.
While I know the laws,
some of these practices that we're frowning upon are things that have been
and people have identified them.
They're still happening.
They're there, and we're not able to kill it because we are dealing with it from the wrong perspective.
Yeah.
If I go there and I say that it is wrong for a 13-year-old to have children,
yes,
that's not the approach. The approach is modern times, modern days. Certain things are happening. We've discovered certain things. We need to appreciate that. This child has more potential if we allow her to grow to this stage and become this person.
This is what will happen.
You don't go telling them you are wrong. You
Yeah.
lose. And that's why we're losing. And this battle, it has been lost. The Nungwa
How can it be lost? The child is a social protection of the police unit.
Oh, it doesn't change anything.
But the traditional rulers are not happy at all.
Of course they are not. That's what I'm saying. It hasn't changed anything. In 10 years' time.
It will happen.
I'm telling you. So, you see, if you take this the wrong way, Neil Ante is telling you he's lived this all his life. Neil Ante is older than I am. I believe so. And if he's lived all his life through this, with this kind of language and attitude, it won't work. And I side with the recognition of who they are. I side with how they want to do their things. What I think they were short on. One, don't be over-infatuated with social media and overexposure. There's a reason why when I go into the stool house, I don't take cameras with me. There's a reason. You see, you don't overdo it. Neil Ante asked a question. Did you see what King Charles sat on?
Yeah.
Did you see what happened to Elizabeth? And that's what you can call her now because she wasn't queen anymore.
Yeah.
When they were putting her body underground, they stripped her of everything. Yeah. You see, we need to think through things. We should not act as if, look, the fact that you went to class 1, class 2, to form 5 does not make you the smartest person on earth. It doesn't. And the fact that you have a PhD, and 6 of them for that matter, does not make you know who the Ga people are, who the Achim people. No. Well, until you submerge yourself and respect the people.
Right.
To add a little to one another.
Before you come in, let me just do this. Before you come in, let me just say that to those of you who want to join us, join the conversation, you're free to send us your message. Join us via WhatsApp on 0249 155 646. 0249 155 646. And here let me say a very good morning to Auntie Edwina of Adenta news site. You're watching the show. Thank you very much for. I'm sure you're watching with your husband as well. I know he's also an ardent watcher or viewer of the show. I want to say a very good morning to Mr. Kwashi himself. Anyway, so that's the WhatsApp line 0249 155 646. I'll take a break. When I come back, I think you want to say something briefly.
A quick one, and okay. I believe maybe Neil will endorse what I'm saying.
All right.
There's a caveat to everything that I'm saying here.
Okay.
The fact that I say that I appreciate what they're doing.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that I will want my 12-year-old child.
Yeah. But that caveat is important. Because I'm sure somebody's watching will say, oh, listen to this
and
man.
they shouldn't think that it's a contradiction in terms.
Yeah. I get it.
It's not a contradiction.
No, it's a very important caveat. Because, look, I won't be surprised somebody says, what is this man saying? Will he allow his... we have to take a break. Otherwise, so that when you're flowing. I don't want to interrupt you because, I like listening to you.
I just wanted to throw something so that we think about.
Okay, before we take a break.
Ask ourselves.
Okay.
From where Nana left up.
Yes.
Why is it that the incidence of teenage pregnancy
is on the rise?
It's on the rise now.
Yes.
Why is it that the incidence of AIDS and the rest are on the rise?
But we've lost it.
Let's think about it.
I like that. It's what we call rhetorical questioning. Anyway, so we'll take a break. When we come back, the conversation continues. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. We're having a conversation about that eventful program that happened somewhere in Ungwa where a 15-year-old child was married off to a deity, and initially the report was that she was married to a 63-year-old, and it got a lot of people angry and upset about what had happened, and there was all kinds of things that happened, but the reactions have been unimaginable. They've been incredible, and we're trying to understand. Of course, we're using that as a case study to try and broaden the conversation about whether we have something wrong with our culture or we've just lost it. And if we've lost it, what do we need to get it back? And and also whether there are other aspects of our culture that we can fine-tune. So that's, for us, will be the next leg of our conversation. Or we just leave things the way they are, even though things are, the world itself is evolving. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. It's about 27 minutes to the top of the hour, and at 9:55 the show will end. I have been having a conversation about what appears to be a clash between the law and our traditions and customs. following that incident that happened in Nungwa, where a 15-year-old minor, a 15-year-old child was married off to a deity. And that has triggered all kinds of reactions, and some of which I have here. Amnesty International, NCCE, we've had the likes of Girls Not Brides Ghana, EduWatch, Occupy Ghana. There's quite a number of people who are calling for all sorts of things as far as this is concerned. And Derek, you want us to read some of these statements, important, so that we'll put some of these things in context, because not all of them agree, if we're going to go by what they're saying. I agree with what my resource persons are saying, because whilst we were off air, one of the things I asked my resource persons was, what do we do with the law? Because the law is there and it's quite clear. It's unambiguous that if you're not of a certain age, no marriage of any sort, no betrothal of any sort. Otherwise, you'll be seen to be violating or breaching the law. So what do we do with it? And it appears that we may have to have a rethink about what has happened. One of the things I'd like to want us to have a rethink about, and I'll ask my resource persons, what we must begin to have a rethink about how we go about practicing some of these customs and traditions based on what we've just seen happen in Nungwa, or we just leave things the way they are and just allow the people to live their lives. That's what they've been doing anyway. So why do you want to change it? So that will be another layer of the discussion when I ask my two traditionalists about this matter. Now, let me start. Derek, if you have the Amnesty International one, can we project it on screen? Otherwise, I'll read it from here. It's just 2 pages. Good. Amnesty International says, we call upon the Ghana Police Service to diligently pursue their investigations and ensure that those... No, this is not the beginning. The beginning, it's about being deeply concerned about recent... yes, Derek, please go back to the beginning of the Amnesty International statement. Yes. Well, the thing about Amnesty International, they also pick and choose. Yeah. So let me read. Let me just do this quickly. Let me just read, and I'm sure it will feed into your submissions going forward. Now it says, press statement: Amnesty International Ghana condemns the marriage of 12-year-olds. So they got it wrong here. It's not 12, but we can grant them that because we're all caught up in that frenzy. 12-year-old girl to Bobo Wolomo. And it says, Amnesty International Ghana is deeply concerned by recent media detailing the purported marriage between a 12-year-old girl and a 63-year-old individual identified as Numo Bokete Lawe, known as the Bobo Wolomo of the Dungwa traditional area in Accra. The traditional marriage... Where did the 12 come from the first? I've been wondering. Anyway, the traditional marriage ceremony reportedly occurred...
Why are you even reading the first place?
No, because our viewers want to know what people think.
Where whole Amnesty International do not do their fact-checking well
that's
to
unfortunate.
Get the correct issue to be before they issue this
I'll get a
statement.
reaction. You see, this is why this is important. You see, it's good for you. So, the traditional marriage ceremony reportedly occurred on Saturday, March 30, 2024 in Nungwa. We commend the proactive measures taken by the Ghana Police Service, and we'll talk about that. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs to provide protection to the girl and her mother, who are currently under police safeguarding, as mentioned in their press statement issued on Sunday, April 1, 2024. We urge the Inspector General of Police, the Ghana Police Service, to conduct a comprehensive investigations into the matter to hold accountable all individuals who sanctioned, endorsed, or participated in this act, which violates the fundamental rights of the girl. Such actions must serve as a deterrent to anyone who might consider similar actions in the future. Amnesty International unequivocally condemns all forms of child marriage, a practice expressly prohibited under Chapter 5 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana and further defined by the Children's Act 1998. So we'll get there. Act 500, according to the Section 14 of the child is defined as an individual under the age of 18, and Section 14, 1C, explicitly prohibits forcing a child into marriage. We call upon the Ghana Police Service to diligently pursue this investigation and ensure that those responsible face the full rigors of the law as stipulated in Section 15 of the Children's Act, a penalty of 500 cedis and a term of imprisonment not exceeding 1 year, a penalty that we believe government needs to review as soon as possible. We implore all government and civil society organizations dedicated to safeguarding the rights of children. So yes, we call on the Ghana Police Service to diligently here. We implore all government and civil society organizations dedicated to safeguarding the rights of children, particularly young girls, to join us in advocating the eradication of child marriage in Ghana. It says, Ghanaian law acknowledges customary marriages, but firmly rejects the practice of child marriages under the guise of culture or tradition. It is imperative to halt traditional practices that infringe upon the rights of young girls, hindering their ability to fulfill their potential. Instead, we must uphold the principles enshrined in the laws of Ghana and ensure the protection of all children's rights, both domestically and international. So that's what they're saying. There's also NCC, but I'm not going to read that now because we don't have all day. So please, let's come to the issue about, so what do we do with the law? The law is explicit, and as you heard me read.
Can I ask a quick rhetorical
yes,
question?
please go ahead and do that.
How old was Jesus when he first preached?
Thank you.
It's a rhetorical question.
What is that? What was that meant to achieve? What
Jesus
was
was a
the
child.
objective?
Today, our laws say child employment is illegal.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what do we say?
Yeah, because we have laws now, don't we? There's
Was
a legal framework.
Was that not a law at the time?
Okay.
Today, I've seen girls
Yes.
and boys entering the university campuses at the age of 16.
Yeah.
True.
Are we saying those people cannot think for themselves? Is that what we are saying?
Yeah.
That people who cannot think for themselves are entering university.
So there's something problematic about the age limit. The age threshold. And I'm saying this for a reason. When you say when somebody is 16, the person can consent to sex, there's nothing wrong with it. But she cannot marry at age 16. She can only get married when she's 18.
But we have laws too that say 16 is also acceptable for marriage when the parent consents. It's here in Ghana.
Okay, that's fine. So let's go with 16. But the point, that's a very important point I make. And it is because of what Honorable has said. That why do we have a problem with the age 16? When people are today at universities at age 16, are we saying they can't think for themselves? They can't decide for themselves?
And I'm trying to say that let's not nitpick and deal with age per se alone.
Yeah.
Let's look at the big picture. The reason a 16-year-old gets to go to university is because they showed their potential.
Yes, academically.
Do you now hinder them with age? You see, everything has its context. So the fact that they can go to university, does that mean that I'd allow my 16-year-old who's in the university to get married? Everything is contextual.
But that's fine.
So
but,
we
but
need
the
to
basis,
be very careful.
But the basis,
we cannot lump things.
Sorry we're focusing on this, but I think it's central to what we're talking about.
It is.
But you see, if the basis for not allowing her to go ahead to marry at age 16 is because you think she can't think or decide for herself, that is what Honorable Neil Antivan is interrogating. Look, let's take a second look at it again. If a 16-year-old boy or girl can play football, if a 15, 16-year-old boy or girl can enroll in the university and actually even choose the courses, in some cases in consultation with their parents, why are we saying that all of a sudden they can't think
there are 16,
and make choices about who they want to be with?
There are 16-year-olds who aren't married.
Yes.
But have lost their parents and take care of their siblings.
Valid point. Very fair point.
And nobody helps them.
So questioning is, how did we arrive at this? Anyway,
streets.
but that's another conversation for another day. But I think they are valid
there
questions.
are certain things that are happening, and I was very, very unhappy with this thing from Amnesty International.
Amnesty International. What do you find wrong with it?
For example, when I was Deputy Minister for Trade,
yes,
I had to battle seriously at the international organizations, at the World Trade Organization, and other places.
Yes.
Because they were saying they were going to blacklist Ghana over our cocoa, over our fish, because we are employing child labor.
That's true.
Moro, sitting here, assuming my father has a cocoa farm, you understand? My father gave birth to me when he was 60. And my father doesn't tutor me. You understand? In the way and manner to work in the cocoa farm and maintain the cocoa farm. When my father dies, what will happen to me?
That's true. That's a good question.
If my father had a fishing vessel or a canoe and all those things, and I'm the only boy of the family, if I don't learn the art of fishing, when my father dies, how am I going to take care of my siblings?
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So
I'm left with no choice.
We need to look at ourselves, our cultural background, our traditional values, and see how do we, within our own setting, cultural setting, family systems, evolve the sort of systems that inure to our own development and progress, and not allow these international organizations to tell us
what were the inputs of the National House of Chiefs, or the input of our chiefs into the crafting or the framing of these laws? What were their inputs?
Well, I cannot say. Nana is
yeah, because you see,
Nana will be able to say. I can't.
No, because now we're back to square one and we're asking the basic fundamental questions.
I asked a question before we went on a break.
Even some of our
I said, look, this lady at her age, 16.
Yes. In fact, there's a video yesterday. Her video was trending.
Physical appearance.
She was jumping.
If she was not set apart from 6 years.
Yes.
I sent you the picture when she was 6. When the first rite was done for her.
It was performed for her.
If she was not set apart from that time, I am sure by this time she'll have been abused.
And right. Nobody will say anything.
Nobody will say anything because there are 14 years, 13-year-old girls around who are carrying babies.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
But because she was set apart at age 6, she's been protected by the cultural and values of our system, the traditional law. Up to this time, we have virtually allowed people to kill our cultural systems, traditional value systems, traditional things we do to protect ourselves. So today, they say depot is not good.
Yes, it's wrong.
Depot that used to protect our girls from venturing into doing the things you are not supposed to do when you are not yet an adult.
Yes.
We say it's not good.
Yes.
And then we go and stand in churches and fight promiscuity and fornication.
Are we a hypocritical society? Okay.
But I already highlighted 2 points as far as I'm concerned that show our hypocriticalness, if there's a word like that, hypocriticalness.
Yeah.
But you see,
a double standard.
Yes, it's just a double standard.
Yeah.
I keep asking. I said, go back 3-4 generations ago, if you know your family history, and find out who your grandparents or your great-great-grandparents were.
Yeah.
And whether you can now point to yourself and denigrate yourself the way you want to denigrate the Ghana people.
Yeah.
So we need to be very careful. But moving forward.
Yeah, moving forward. Good. That's what's coming. Moving forward, and I don't know whether you're going to capture this in your final submission, but I want to know whether, from everything that has happened, do we need to have a conversation about a rethink of the way we practice our culture, or we should allow the status quo ante to remain? However, we may have to come back to our laws again and do something and review it in ways that conform with how our people want to live. So which is which?
In modern Ghana.
Yes.
In Ghana as we see it.
Nana, can I rudely interrupt? I'll crave your indulgence.
If you say rudely, then
yes,
I think we deserve one sheep.
I beg you. You may have to wait during
yes.
I beg you. As for this one, yeah.
You admitted it.
As for this one, yeah, I beg. So good morning. Some people have sent a lot of messages. I think to be fair to them. Now, good morning. David Obeng from Adenta says, have we ever wondered why literature on religiosity, morality, and spirituality has not been exhausted by academicians? He's asking a question. And it says, researchers don't engage custodians of the culture or research subjects, hence a lack of conclusion or understanding on these matters. I think you sort of attested to that, but not, yeah. Ni, kindly tell the Gans to rather educate citizens on the cultures, not on this subject matter. So he says, look at the bigger picture. You've also said the same thing.
I agree.
I say my Gans should have been the richest people owning Accra. However, erosion of culture is what has brought all of these. Yes. Nanayao, since that, I think it's a very, very important point is raised.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. In fact, you said that, but not in so many words. And this one here says, good morning. I find it intriguing why every well-meaning Ghanaian is complaining about traditional customs whilst issues of President Akufo-Addo's ascension to LGBT is still in limbo. Awilo, Atito, Lawrence, GPRT, Yuho. Okay. Mo, let me tell you for a fact that some of these marriages end up in real marriage or it ends up with sex. You have any evidence?
It's good.
Anyway, the government should understand that Ghanaians have every right to complain about this one is talking about, so he says he wants to talk about hiking petrol. Good morning. Mr. Atta and my great Ododo constituency MP, Honorable Ne Lante.
Who's Mr. Atta?
I don't know who Mr. Atta is. Please, it's great. This has been, okay, I'm not sure what you're trying to tell us, so I'll skip it. Mo, let me tell you for a fact that some of these marriages, okay, after that's Nyamite Samuel. He was one who was, but I think he had to resend it with his name attached to it. Edu say from Ofuase Kokobing says the panelists are all defending what has happened. Why do you fear to face what is right? It is wrong to support the action of the deity. Politicians should abstain commenting on this. Well, I know he has politicians. Then nobody's talking politics here. These are all traditional people. You see, we tend to think people do politics 24/7. It's not true.
And they don't do anything else.
It's not. Yeah, they don't do anything else. It's not true. These are people I've known personally for many years. They can talk about other things. They're not. So politics for them is not. It's not their primary. What I call the main or their mainstay or something. I don't know how to put it. But here's the thing. Now, this one here says that your panelists have failed to address the substantive issue, but only talking about respect for our culture.
What's the substantive
issue? Culture and tradition, for the Ga tradition. I want to understand if the Gas are living in isolation or they're also being governed by the laws of this country, can a minor make an independent decision if they're saying that she's married to a deity but not a 63-year-old? The question is this child old enough to decide for herself? Is it not a child abuse? Tony from Kokomilimle. We respect everybody's opinion, so don't worry. Good morning, dearies. My name is Nyameche, from Kumasi. When we were in school, we learned that most parents were highly responsible for the choices their wards made in marriage. Once a young lady menstruates, it is known because a cloth of linen used as pad was seen hanging on dry line. Parents will go through marriage discussions with the child. Some out of poverty gave their children to well-off men. It says well-off men, some of them being kings. Some also were forced to marry older people because they got pregnant as teenagers and to come out of the embarrassing situation of pregnant, but no husband. They just accept to be with an older person like that. I strongly believe that whether tradition or law, both are tentative subjects to change to bring a better development of human life. It said, note, marriage requires maturity in body, social, psychological, and emotional, financial, and the ability to handle and solve issues. A child may have a womb, but the organ has to mature before it can accommodate fetus. Okay. Our culture needs to be respected, accepted, and adhered to as Ghanaians. I don't understand why when it comes to Ga culture and traditions, people always want to attack. But in the Islamic Muslim culture and customs, a 13-year-old girl is allowed to marry to an older person and living as a third wife, but we don't talk about it. The Prophet Muhammad was allowed to marry a 9-year-old as his third wife, of which we're now practicing it as Muslims, so they should allow the Ghanaians to respect their culture. Samabuatin Dankwa from Kumasi Asokwa. This was it. It's my first time watching your program. I must say it's a great one. I couldn't agree more with your resource persons. Very insightful thoughts. I'm not Ga, but our traditions will not be scrapped. If we should go by the argument of these organizations, then all traditions in Ghana will be thoroughly scrutinized. And I bet you'll lose more than half of our traditional and cultural practices. I am Lola from Amasaman. I was really disappointed in Otinto, the Sempe Manche, for attacking the Wulomo and the Nungwa people. He should apologize to the people of Nungwa. I feel the crapping man were big ups on Abu Nilante. Somebody says they feel you are. Anyway, Botte from Nungwa says they should make it clear to us that a girl can marry any man of her choice when she's of age to marry. But they've said that time and again, time without number. In fact, there are other 3 wives. Yes. The customary wives of the chief of the deity are married. They have husbands. They have kids.
And they all went through the same process.
Yeah, they're living their very normal life. So Anyway, Kojo from Ajengara was the one who sends that. Who says no, that was on Botte from Nungwa. Hello, Moro. Please check your reference to the Children's Act Section 14, as it doesn't prohibit betrothal. The law only forbids a betrothal where the party who is a minor is being forced. He thinks that emphasis must be laid. Kojo from Ajenga.
That's what he said.
Well, okay, I've heard you. But in fact, Honorable has said it time and again. But just that I didn't agree with him, but that's fine. Good morning to you and your guest. I'm Kwesi Kumase. Respectfully, I do not support the fact that a 12-year-old or 16-year-old is betrothed to or married to a deity. However, tradition is tradition, culture is culture, but culture isn't static but dynamic. Did you watch the burial service of the Queen of England where a ram was taken to the funeral grounds for sacrifice? Have you watched the burial service of the Queen Mother of Joabing in Ashanti region of Republic of Ghana, where a teenager in his appellations requesting the chief to hand over anyone who misbehaves to him, executioner, to slaughter, and it says, where a teenager, please let us be mindful of the way we condemn our tradition, especially when it's about female, but pay lip service to such issues when it's about male children. You know what? My 10-year-old boy told me that he wouldn't be in the class of the boy because he will kill him. Let's constructively criticize our culture, tradition, and values as a people, for that would make us unique. My warmest regards. And finally, John says, can you go to the Ashanti region or elsewhere and interfere with the traditions? This is a disrespectful act against the Gans. The issue is not handled properly at all. The authorities must use wisdom in the issues of this nature. I'm not sure I can read all the messages. There's just too many. And most of you are raising some very cogent arguments. We respect that. So in 2 minutes, it's going forward.
You could probably publish a book with your messages.
Yeah.
That in itself is a collection of thought.
Right. That's true. That's true.
But
going forward.
Moro, it's unfortunate that your time is running out. I keep asking the question, the Dalai Lama, who Ni referred to earlier, was he not a child when he was appointed? What brain for managing a people did he have? We need to be very contextual about a lot of these things. When I said that I won't allow my 12-year-old child to marry, I want everybody to put it in the context of when I raised the issue about that Christian priest who said that what if he were born in Saudi Arabia? If in my house, my mother's house, an ancestor of mine had submitted to customs such that they said that in this house, a child will do X, Y, Z. By the time I'm grown up and occupy the positions that I occupy, I'd so appreciate it that I'd apply myself. So we need to be very respectful and contextual. Somebody was complaining about we're not dealing with the substance. We have dealt with the substance. You want to nitpick on the matter of age, on the matter of whether they've done it right or wrong. And our response to you is that you are not dealing with the matter the way it should be dealt with. If you truly want even your thoughts to apply to the people.
I get that.
First of all, start off from where they operate. As far as going forward quickly, I mean, there's so many things that need to be discussed. But I think that Ghanaians I think that we should let's start from the top. As far as I'm concerned, government should structure our cultural institutions very well. The state cultural institutions must be structured very well to appreciate every ethnic group in this country and what they do. We should code things so that as we evolve, we appreciate where we came from. 2, there's a need for those involved, like our traditional leaders, to assert who they are and appreciate it. A lot of our traditional leaders are themselves easily swaying because they think it's a matter of the times. But you see, there's nothing wrong if you change, but with rationale. Sticking to the original principle so that things work out for us. It is because we've lost those principles is why Ni was able to list all the shortcomings we face now. And I'll add things like our water bodies. This Galamsey problem. Trees being cut haphazardly. The upbringing of our children. Youth problems. They are all linked to these problems that we've caused ourselves. Our disrespect for who we are.
That's true.
When you tell a young person, my sons, you can never convince them otherwise about who they are, where they come from. Because from the get-go, I imbibe it in them and tell them who they are. And Moro, just to wrap up, and at the risk of sounding like I'm bragging, I'm here, one, because you invited me.
Yes.
And I believe you invited me, one, because you've known me for a while.
Absolutely.
Beyond the politics.
That's true.
That's why you didn't mention any politics.
That's true.
I've held the position as the first chief of staff to the Ochin. I did it for 3 years. This year is my 25th anniversary as his Asumkahin, basically means senior advisor. I also hold a second stool as Chebi Chidompeni, which means that in my house, my mother's house, there are 2 black stools. I hold one of them. I've had the privilege of being close to Dr. Blankson when he was government chair.
Is it Dr. Joe Blankson?
Yes.
Yes.
When he was government chair.
Yes,
I had the
government chair.
privilege of sitting at his feet at that time, yeah. I have known a whole lot Nana Addo Dankwa of Akuapem and learned from them.
Okay.
So I don't sit here trying to do politics.
I get that.
Yes.
I think
I
it's
want
a fair
people.
point.
No,
It's actually
your
important.
people.
No, it's actually important. Yeah.
It's about who we are, and I'm proud.
Yeah.
I'm proud of knowing the Ga people.
Yeah.
I'm proud of being a Chim.
Right.
I'm proud of respecting your
solid point. Boss.
Moro, I will say this. I'm very happy.
You're proud of them as well.
I'm very happy who I am.
Yeah.
I'm a true Ghanaian. I'm a Ghanaian. I told you from the beginning, you know already.
Absolutely.
That my great-grandmother is from the north.
Yeah.
So I respect Dagbon culture. I respect the Gonja culture because her father was Dangoba and the mother was Gonja.
Okay, interesting.
And she brought me up because when my mother gave birth to me, her mother had also delivered their last born.
Oh, okay.
And my mother 3 months had to go to work.
Wow.
So she couldn't have left me with my grandmother.
Yeah.
So gave me to her grandmother.
Oh, okay.
And she brought me up. Okay. So I got a basic training in maybe in Islam.
Right.
Then I went to live with my mother and my grandmother.
Yeah.
So what I say is that culture defines who I am.
True.
Because I grew up within a cultural setting.
Yes.
I was told the things you cannot do, the things you are permitted to do,
right?
The lengths you can go. But the failure of society over the period, like Nana said, to educate ourselves, our children, and our...
As one of the texters has said.
In the line of our culture, it's missing. Now, formal education is giving much more priority.
It's taking over,
over our cultural education. And it's affecting us. We are losing our identity. We are losing who we are. Secondly, Nana said something, Nana, I'm grateful that you respect that what they have done. Immediately that right was done for Naya Modele. She's not just an ordinary girl.
Yeah.
She's become a queen mother.
Yes.
And so for the police and social welfare to just go and pick her like somebody.
It's an attack.
It's an attack on our culture and tradition. And I detest it, and it's wrong.
Very wrong.
They owe us an apology.
Completely.
Okay. This thing happened. Many people have really denigrated the Gandamwe people.
Very bad.
And I am very offended about it. Look, yesterday I saw a tweet of somebody who has been invited by the Nungwa Traditional Council to come before them and explain why he used unprinted words against them. And do you know what he tweeted? I laugh something.
I laugh enter somewhere.
Yes, you saw it.
That's typically how those statements are made. Yeah.
And then when they
that's very cheeky. This is very rude.
Look,
very disrespectful.
And I want to tell him, if he thinks that where he comes from, there is people respect culture and tradition.
Yeah.
He should not appear before the traditional council.
Okay.
And he will see whether he will live in Accra.
Okay.
If in his place where he comes from, Odike has been banished for showing disrespect to tradition, then he should know that we can also banish him from Accra.
This is where we end today's program. I think it's been very enlightening and very fruitful, very, very educative as well, very riveting, and also very, very thought-provoking. I hope you enjoyed it. In fact, most of the texters will attest to the same. And so we're happy that we've had this conversation. It looks like Ghanaians like conversations like that. I think they're tired of the MPP NDC thing. I can tell from most of the messages. Because even the quality of the messages has changed drastically. I mean, all the time. I agree with you. So on this note, let me wish a happy birthday to Mrs. Adelaide Siao Ejipon, the wife of the group CEO of Just One Group of Companies. That's Dr. Siao Ejipon, as the Chief Executive Officer. Yes. So, Madam.
There might be lunch.
You mean you're available?
Mommy, we wish you happy birthday.
Right.
And let me also say happy birthday to my very good friend and brother, Mark Boy Annan. Yesterday was his birthday.
Okay.
Yeah, the Don.
Okay, happy birthday to you again, to you too. The Dawn.
Nana refused to say something I didn't talk about.
I was going to read.
You talk about.
I was going to read some appellations.
Intention to do a national discussion on our culture and all this.
Yes,
I heard about it. I was too much interested in that.
Oh, great.
You know, there's a program
Yes, that we are here. Yeah, absolutely.
Culture Chat is a program that we
It's a brainchild.
National Theatre.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And through that is why we want to do that. So let's
Fantastic.
talk.
Great.
Let's talk.
So I want to say a big thanks to Nana Fredo Ajimai and Oferiata. Thank you very much. Also, the Honourable Member of Parliament, so Jojo, but not here as a Member of Parliament. He's here as a Gadangbe, and a proud one indeed. I also want to say big thanks. Numo, Lante Vanderpool, isn't it? All right. And also, Mr. Bright Akwete, thanks for joining us. We couldn't, Kofi Kapito couldn't join. I'm sure he's still asleep. And also, Nibote of the office of the Gawulomo. Thank you. You couldn't join us, but I'm sure subsequently we'll hear from you. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.